Farm, and today I'm going to talk about, is it really worth the risk of setting out your plants early? Is it really worth the risk of, losing something to a late frost, a freak snowstorm, even a freeze that comes out of nowhere? Okay, so there are the pros and the cons. So this year, I looked at the forecast, and about May 1st, second weekend, here in zone 6B, 7A, probably more closer to 6, I guess. Anyways, the average annual frost date, or last frost date I should say, is April 20th, April 22nd. Okay, and this year I waited, to May 1st. I looked at the extended forecast, and it was in the 60s and 70s and warm at night, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the temperature forecast changed. Okay, we had temperatures that got down to 36 degrees. So where I live is about 80 miles south of where the farm is at, down where the Hillside garden is in the urban garden there. But anyway, so 80 miles north, I can't run up here and cover all these plants. So I was really kind of nervous. I fully expected, because I haven't been here for 2 weeks because of work, I couldn't get away. I fully expected to come up here and find everything dead. So let me go ahead and show you what I came back to and show you some of the surprising results of my early planting and how I dodged a huge loss by doing a few techniques here at the farm. All right, so right here, this is corn. The variety is Bloody Butcher. It's an Appalachian heirloom corn, so I tried to grow some this year. I planted it on May 1st, thinking that I was in the clear, and to my surprise, it actually germinated and it's doing well. But I mean, look at the tips right here. See it's yellowing right there? That's from probably cold damage or just being in the soil that's just too cold. So I fully expected this to all be dead and was expecting the worst, just having to replant it. But unfortunately, when I did plant this, I only had enough to plant 2 rows where I made 4 rows. So I ordered some more and it got here in time, and I fully expected to come back, like I said, and have to replant everything all together. However, where this corn actually survived, I was able to go ahead and plant the next 2 rows right here, side by side with the corn, same variety, the Bloody Butcher, that's over there. So yeah, dodged a huge blow for that one. Corn is really a warm season crop. Anyways, if we had got really a cold, hard frost, everything might have been dead. So that being said, some of my more cold tolerant vegetables or plants, you can see amongst the weeds, I need to get in here and pull. This is obviously a pea plant, okay? And they're germinating just fine. There are two rows kind of going right here. And all this rain, you can tell, has really brought out the clay content, as this soil is very, really compacted. So I'm really trying to stay off of it. But for the purpose of this video, I'm trying to get not too close. I don't want to compact the soil any more than it already is. But yeah, so peas will actually do well in the cold. So I wasn't worried about these guys. They can even take a slight frost, but they're doing quite well. And I don't have any foreseeable reason why these guys may or may not survive. They should be doing just fine, aside from maybe some bird damage. Okay, so let's check out some other stuff that I was really nervous about. All right, now check out this tomato. All right, this is a purple Cherokee. I was totally afraid my tomatoes were all going to be dead and withered up as it got to 36, like I said. They're doing just fine. I think I attribute that to hardening of my plants off. I treat them, I don't baby them. I made a video about that on the urban front porch there where I hardened my plants off. I don't bring them in, okay? So they experienced one night of about 37 degrees. Not by purpose. It was supposed to get down to 41, and 40 to 41 is pretty much, I'll leave them outside without really worrying. Once they've been formally hardened off, they really withstand cold a lot better than people may give them credit for. But I digress. Most people keep their plants inside and bring them in every single night, where the plants never really get that structure. These guys here, I mean, this is a very, very, very sturdy stem on that guy. It's doing quite well. And anyways, like I said, it got to 37. It wasn't supposed to, but I woke up the next morning and, they're doing just fine. They perked back up. The sunshine came for that day. No worries whatsoever. So that just goes to show you your tomatoes can survive colder temperatures than you may give them credit for. But that being said, right here, a little bit of damage, I think just from the cold or just the overall temperatures and not being to its liking. Okay, I'll show you some other stuff. Let's continue the tour. This little guy here is a blueberry. It's way too small to actually have any flowers or fruit this year anyhow, so I just planted them last year. They were basically throwaway plants, little 4-inch pots, and I thought I'd try to rescue most of them. And I think I have 20, and of the 20, I think there's about 3 that don't look great or never have leaves, really came out of a dormancy. So that's all well and good. But anyways, had they been in flower, I would have been kind of worried about the flowers being damaged this time of year with a late, cold snap like we're getting. Well after, about 2 weeks after our supposed last frost date. Even I'm checking it. This is Saturday. Tuesday morning, I think, or Wednesday morning, we're going to get down to 36 again. So yeah, it was about 38, 39 this morning. I was out working in it. You can see your breath a little bit. So again, an unusually cool start to the spring, but the plants are thriving. And let's go do some other stuff and show you more of my more tender, more sensitive plants that I thought I really made a huge mistake by planting, and I was really nervous, but we'll see the good news. Obviously, the garlic is doing just fine. It's massive. I actually mulched it this morning. Anyhow, I had no worries about the garlic. Not concerned at all. Just giving you a quick little shot of that update there. So when I started these last time I was here, I planted some, or transplanted from my flower bed, actually some yarrow, and it's doing fine. It's perking up. Actually, when I did plant it was like 79 degrees that day out of nowhere, and they were kind of wilty. So I thought they actually might be dying from just, transplant shock from heat. But then we got some cooler days, lots of rain. They've all perked back up. And my goal is for this wildlife kind of boundary, not really so much a hula mound as much as it's going to be a wildlife kind of thing. But do check my video on that where I talk about the plans, what I plan with doing with this this row of old logs. As the first stage is basically getting some pioneer plants to kind of colonize and to start bringing in pollinators. But anyways, let's go talk about the plants. All right, these guys down this row, this is my kale. It's doing quite well. As we know, kale, brassica, it's very much a tolerant to cold temperatures. No worries about this. It's doing just fine. But right next door, this is the part that made me really nervous. Okay, these are dahlias. Okay, now I'm growing all of my dahlias from seed, as I'm trying to just get a variety, just because, as I mentioned before, seed-grown dahlias will always be very unique in their own flowering. You're never going to get a duplicate. Even if you save something and try to regrow, it's never going to be identical. So this basically was an experiment to grow a bunch of dahlias out to see just what kind of interesting flowers I may get out of it altogether. But that being said, dahlias are very sensitive to cold. Any frost, these guys would have been done. This one here is not doing as well as the others, as the leaves are a little bit... Well, just like that, my memory card was full, so I'm back. Had to delete some things, but there you go. Like I was saying, conventional wisdom around here says plant around St. Patrick's Day, which is insanity. They try to refer, St. Patrick's Day to potatoes in March. The soil's way too wet. Your potatoes are going to rot. They're not going to grow. That's just crazy talk. 1st of April, most people say is safe. I still don't believe it. I've tried it before, and I've gotten burned. So I wait till mid-April to even late April to plant potatoes. And even with this latest cold snap, they are doing fine. So like I mentioned before, about the 80-degree days we had for a couple of days there, it was hot, humid, 80 degrees, had some rain. The flowers on the trees and the tulips and the irises were blooming everywhere. And it felt like spring. Then we had this nice little cold snap. If I'd have planted my potatoes even earlier, when the warm temperature kind of got ahead of myself, they would have been all just probably killed, honestly. If not, they'd have been really suffering, which kind of reminds me of one last story I'll tell you. My grandfather, he'd always tell me, you don't put stuff out in the ground till May 15th. Okay, May 15th, or after Mother's Day, which is coming up pretty soon, I think, depending where I think tomorrow, right? So anyways, happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. Anyways, so May 15th. Now, for a couple years at the Hillside garden there, I was always jumping the gun. April 25th or so, I'm like, hey, the last frost is April 23rd. I'm putting stuff in the ground April 25th because we're safe. It's good to go. Okay, and everyone has to learn the hard way, right? But I got away with it for about 3 years. There's nothing planted here just yet, so I'll pan over here. These are these are actually purple potatoes. Check those out. They do come out with a little bit of purple foliage on it. Isn't that pretty awesome? Right? These are some more of just my ball bunions that we're watching here. But anyways, as I'm walking along, but May 15th. So why is that such an important date? Well, for generations, people don't have smartphones that they can just, check the weather forecast, and they're warned about, hey, potential freeze tonight, cover your plants. They might go by the Farmer's Almanac or some things like this, or, signs of the moon and things like that, but that's fine. But these things were developed over a long period of time, right? Because they had to be. Because people would lose their crops, and maybe they didn't eat, okay? And if it wasn't a survival situation, You know, maybe you're growing some kind of vegetable for your livestock. You know, you're growing your corn for your livestock, and you can't afford to just go to the store and buy it, right? So these things became, you know, passed down generations. So why not listen to what the those before you kind of set it up? So again, I planted way too early. I knew the risk. I got excited, even though I thought I waited later. You know, April 25th, I waited a full week longer. May 1st, you know, because I'm like, hey, at least I waited to May, right? That's something. And I almost got burned again this year. Okay, so these are two really cold springs we've had back to back. We, like I said, the previous three have been super warm. I mean, went from winter basically to summer. We had no spring whatsoever, and I totally got away with it. You know, I had huge plants. I was the first person with tomatoes and peppers around, you know, my neighborhood and around friends and everybody. But is it worth it? I mean, can you replace all these things? I mean, how many dahlias are over there? Probably 30 at least. The kale, they would have survived anyhow. But I mean, if I'd have lost all of those dahlias, if I'd have lost all my corn, and I had the chance to get up here for 2 weeks to replant, how much longer would I be set back? You know, how long would I have to wait? So is it really worth the risk? It's up to you. I mean, maybe you have a hothouse or a hoop house or something that can actually, you have the ability to cover a small garden or a few plants, do it. I mean, take that chance. But, you know, when you start scaling up or you have a larger field or you actually have an actual farm, you know, with acres and acres and acres of something you're planted in the ground, when this is your livelihood or something like that, you know, you got to be really careful. So you assess the risk, you take the risk, but you have to know what the risk reward factor is, right? Is it really worth planting it a little too early? That's up for you. Okay, so I'll leave it there, guys. Hopefully you didn't set your plants out and experience a late frost. I know a lot of places in the country are sweating right now. They're having a drought, have way above temperatures, and I'm really sympathetic to that. But on the other hand, the East Coast and then the Midwest, we're experiencing a very 15 to 20 degree below average high temperatures with unexpected frost in a lot of places. So I guess you just have to take that into consideration when you're setting your things out. So from the Hillside Farm, hopefully you guys took this information to heart and you use that in planning for your season coming up. Hopefully your plants weren't burned by any of the late season unexpected cool nights we've been having. And wish you best of luck in your growing season. Please give some comments, some thumbs up, some likes. Tell me about your season. If you lost something, tell me what you may have lost, and we can all learn from everyone's mistakes or successes or accidental failures or accidental successes, whatever may have befallen you at your place. All right, guys, I'm signing off for now. I'll see you next time here at the farm. Bye.